Hello and welcome to another great edition of Your Money, Your Life, Black Enterprises podcast series on all things financial wellness. We're about wealth for life, multi-generational wealth, and we're about to have another great conversation on a series that we've been doing the last few episodes of Your Money, Your Life. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior Vice President and Executive Editor of Black Enterprise. And for the last couple of episodes of Your Money, Your Life, brought to you, by the way, by our friends at Prudential, we've been talking about the importance of integrating the money talk, wealth conversation into family conversation, because we now know that better outcomes over the course of family wealth outcomes as well as multi-generational wealth outcomes happen when money is just kind of part of the culture of the conversation. And so we've been talking to couples, we've been talking to families about how they integrate money talk into the conversation and some of the challenges that might occur when you're trying to have that conversation, when a lot of us come from backgrounds where it's either taboo to talk about it or embarrassing to talk about, or it's just that something you just don't think about until you have to think about it. Listen, I got a great couple on the show today, people that I know because Chicago is my favorite city. Since the pandemic, most people know I split my time. I go back and forth between Chicago and New York. But if you're a Chicagoan, you already know my guests. Please welcome to the show, Early Walker and Tia Ewing Walker. Thank you for joining me on Your Money, Your Life.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Absolutely.
So again, in Chicago, you guys are known quantities. I've gotten a chance to admire you from afar. Early, I think I was at the Harold Washington Cultural Center when you were recognized for your great work as a philanthropist. I know you're an entrepreneur and a business person. But let me not tell your story. Talk about who you guys are and how those of us who know you and love you and admire you know you.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Early. As you stated, this is my beautiful wife, Tia. As you stated, I am a entrepreneur, business owner, as well as philanthropist. I love helping people. I have used my businesses for years to give back to the community because I feel like that's important. I feel like the community is the reason why I am in business, and so I choose to make sure that I support my community.
Well, my name is Tia Ewing Walker, and I've been a journalist since 2008. I've been on TV in Chicago for the last 7 years, coming up on 8. And that's my life story. I've spent most of my life, my adult life, on your TV screen. So,
I've been at Black Enterprise a long time, Early, and so the reason I admire you is I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who say, "Oh yes, I want to give back to the community," but there are very few that actually lean into it the way that you do. That you find out about your work doing things for other people before you find out about you being an entrepreneur. Most people know you more for that, even though obviously you have had a long time as an entrepreneur. Talk about why that is important to you, because I think that also feeds into some of what we'll be talking about today, about the values that people bring to a family when it comes to how money is thought about and handled.
Uh-oh. Let's see what.
she's up.
Oh, God.
Yes. But why don't we just mention her now? There's a third party to the family.
Yeah, our daughter.
We failed to mention our beautiful daughter that we have together, Dory, who you will occasionally probably hear in the background of this interview. But basically, I started my business about 13 years ago. Actually, I just recently had an acquisition / merger with the largest company in the nation. But prior to that, it's been my biggest passion to, I always tell myself that if I ever amounted to anything, if I ever made anything, I would make sure that I give back to my community. I just feel like that's important. I feel like it's an appreciation to the people who support me, right? And so showing my gratitude is giving. And so, in that, it is a ministry as well. I mean, I firmly believe that the reason why I have continued to be blessed and I have continued to get an abundance of blessings is because of my give backs. If you ever pay attention to any, I always tell people, if you pay attention to any of your bigger celebrities, entrepreneurs, and you really do your research on them, you'll find that they were givers. You'll find that they have given back in some type of way. And so to your point, you have people that always talk about giving, but I have always made that a part of my, life lesson, a part of my business plan. I always allocate a certain percentage back to whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm involved in. Even with this particular acquisition that I just got involved in, that was a part of the negotiation. I was like, look, well, you got to allocate a certain amount of money back to the community because I'm not going to become a part of you and become a part of your team if you don't agree to basically keep what I've already started in place.
That's important because, again, over my years at Black Enterprise, and I talked to obviously a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of investors, a lot of wealth creators across the spectrum. And I tell people a common thread of successful wealth building is giving. Like wealth, if it's not circulating, is not really wealth. It's hoarding, and hoarding doesn't benefit anything. So all the, the most successful, whether they're business people, career people, corporate people, or just regular people who are, doing just, what people would consider your basic everyday career, when there's an element of giving in their financial approach, they do tend to, one, be happier, which is a major source of wealth. We already know scientifically that they're healthier, but also it's a major component of just being prosperous over the long haul, that you're kind of seeding the garden that you hope that will bear fruit that can feed you and others. And so it's a common, it's a personal value system for me that you're not really a serious wealth builder if that's not a big part of your strategy. Tia, how did you come to this? You're a professional journalist like me. I was thinking to myself, technically this is the first day of my vacation, but I was like, people don't understand when you've been chasing a certain interview subject and they say, we can do it today. We do it today because, you don't say no to Jay and Bay when they say, oh, we can do it today. But talk talk about your journey to who you are, and you're again a very successful, very probably one of the most recognized faces in Chicago, from what I can tell. And I've been in and out of Chicago for 40 years. But talk about your journey.
Oh man, my journey is pretty crazy. So since the topic is money, I will start with money. I did not grow up with money at all. Didn't really understand that until I got older because my mother did do a very good job of keeping me outside of the ghetto, so to speak. So even though I lived there, I didn't spend a lot of my time there. So I didn't really know that I was impoverished until I got older and then went to college, et cetera, and would see how other people were living. I'm like, oh snap. Yeah, I was living poor. We never really talked about money because there was nothing there to talk about. There was no money to talk about. So I knew my limitations pretty early on that, it was very clear to me that, I was that kid that would go in the store and be like, I want that. And sometimes I would get it. And then other times my mother would say things like, not today. And that not today simply meant we don't have money for that. And so I have always been, I will say, a conserver of money. I'm a cheapskate. Okay. I'll say that right off the bat. I am cheap and I will go to, he knows this. I will go to the cheapest store and buy 50 items, even though if you go to one luxury store, you could buy just one item, but that's me because I believe in, not spending every dime that you have. At the same time though, why are you laughing? You can comment. This is a show for nothing. Because it's relevant to the conversation.
I mean, I just thought about what you said because it's funny.
But that is what I do.
She will. She'll spend, and it's funny because I get on her about this because she'll spend.
I don't do it as much anymore.
She'll spend, let's just say for making up something, she'll spend $100 on 20 cheap items. And I'm like, well, for that $100, you could have bought one item that will last longer than all of it. But anyway, it was funny.
That's been my mindset, though.
This is important. Before we came on the air, I was talking about again this book, the 4 financial languages, and Tia, let me say, I'm you. I was raised by a divorced single mother. I'm the oldest of 4 children, and your mother was kind when she said, "Not today." My mother be like, "We about to go in the store. Don't look at nothing. Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing." But at the same time, like you said, when I realized what economic strata I was being raised in was when I applied for financial aid for college, and my mother put on the income line what her income was, and I was like, "What? Like really?
Wow!
You were taking care of us on this?" and that's when, like you said, then I was like, oh, now I can see, because now I'm I went to Rutgers University. Now I'm at the context of other kids, some of whom are like literally driving to campus in their own cars. Some of them, their parents are sending them money to school when I was like sending money home with my extra job. But my point is, you say you're a cheapskate, and I mentioned this book before, Financial Languages. I used to say that too, but I said, no, I was raised with a saving orientation. You know what I'm good at? I'm good at budgeting. Because my mama was like, nah, this is how much we got, and this was got to get us through. So, I'm a saver orientation. Early, it seems like you're a giver. You have a giving orientation. And again, the four financial languages. Now you could correct me if I'm wrong, though. It's the saver, the giver, the spender, and the investor. And all of us have.
I am the investor.
Okay, that's fair.
Now more so than ever.
I like to spend my money on things that will bring me money back. So I won't say necessarily saving. I just feel like, to your point earlier, you were talking about how money is it's a universe, right? It's a revolve. Well, to your point, money, you have to make money work, and money is a tool. And if you don't make money work, well, you won't ever get anything back from it, right? Like, you have people that will save their whole entire lives and hoard it, and they're wondering why they're staying in the same place. Well, it's because you're afraid to allow your money to work for you.
That's what I had to learn from experience. Cause, again, when I got to Black Enterprises, when I first started, this book aside, realizing that you can't save your way to wealth.
No.
Like, you can keep yourself from starving, maybe, but you can't save your way to wealth. That sooner or later, investing the money working for you and not just you working for the money is necessary. I mean, it's necessary no matter how.
Let me give my disclaimer too, because I do not come from a rich family. A lot of people have that notion and feel like I come from a rich family. I grew up on the west side of Chicago. And the west side of Chicago still looked the same way it looked when I grew up. So, so I just want to give that disclaimer that, I grew up on the west side of Chicago. Same thing, like, it was things that I would want. I mean, I never forget when felines was in. They're coming back now. But I never forget when felines said, I wanted those new felines. I wanted the new mics. Well, I didn't get them, right? And my dad he was the same. He just said no. Like, he didn't give me no excuse or nothing like that. And it was basically one of those things where it was like, you get old enough, you can work for these things and you can have these things. And that was it. Like, it wasn't no elaborate spending. I mean, we had a decent sized family. And so the biggest thing was he wanted to make sure that we had a roof over our head, food on our table, and that was pretty much it, closing our back. Right. And so, but honestly, even from a financial standpoint, like, that was not a topic of discussion in my household. We didn't have financial literacy discussions. We didn't have financial, topics or conversations. My dad was an entrepreneur, so I do come from a serial entrepreneur, background. My dad was, my grandfather was an entrepreneur, but in that, it was never a conversation of the do's and don'ts.
How did you learn?
From bumping my head, honestly. A combination. I will give my dad credit for the fact of me having my entrepreneurial spirit. Because honestly, I was the rebellious person. So when I got old enough, I was like, I don't want my own business. My dad wanted me to take over his business. I was like, I don't want your business. I don't want to. You made me do this when I was younger, so I ain't doing it now. Like, I literally I tried to go to the corporate world. Like, I tried to go to, I used to work for Willie Wilson. A lot of people don't know that. That's how I met Willie Wilson. I used to work for him. I left him. I went to the Department of Homeland Security. I used to work for the police department for a while. I mean, I've had several jobs. My last real job was CPS. Department of what is it?
Chicago
Public Schools. Anyway, it's been so long. But
that was traumatizing. You don't want to remember.
Well, no, it's like I'm going to jail every day. But it really felt like, honestly, truly, it's funny because, like, that's how I knew, like, okay, I got to be an entrepreneur, because I felt like every job I had, I was going to jail, right? And that's nothing to take away from anybody. That's just how I felt. It was because of how I was raised. Being raised in an entrepreneur household where your dad is your boss, well, that's not really a boss. Like, he taught me the structure and everything, but it was like he was giving me boss mentalities, right? Mm-hmm. So it was to the point where I got old enough, I thought I could go and work for somebody, and it was like, no.
But see, Tia's question and your answer is, because I asked myself too, I come from a family where most of the women are nurses, most of the men were military, and then some of them are cops, some of them are construction workers, all make good livings, all good people. But it was like, I would ask myself, why did I go down this different path? And there's two things. One, like you said, mindset, the way you think was different.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was exposure. I went into a world of meeting different people who had different ways of looking at things. And especially when I got to Black Enterprise, I came to Black Enterprise like 4 years after college. And you meet people like our late founder, Earl Graves Sr., and you're like, oh, there's things that my mother couldn't have told me. So there's the things we got from our parents, how to save, how to be an entrepreneur. And there are things that they didn't give us because they didn't have it themselves. They didn't know what they didn't know. And again, that's why we decided to do this series of conversations, because for many of us, sounds like for you, we are like the first generation for financial literacy. What the heck? Like that, it wasn't. So we're the ones having these conversations with each other, and and I see them with our kids and their kids. So my kids are way more financially literate when they were 11 than I was when I was coming out of college. Mm-hmm. But they had parents that was having conversations that their grandparents couldn't possibly have.
That's how we kind of fostered our relationship, actually, as even friends, is because I would call early to talk about money stuff. And my credit was so jacked up, true story, because I didn't have anybody to ever teach me how to make credit cards work for you, how to make credit work for you. My credit was so jacked up that I called early and was like, yo, my credit's jacked up. I need to figure this out. I think I was trying to buy a home at the time. Mm-hmm. And that's how I even found out. The craziest part is I had no concept of credit at all, that I didn't even know that I had little credit. The credit that I had was horrible until I went to buy a home. Nobody ever told me, monitor your credit. None of that. So I called early like, yo, I know you're my friend. I knew he wasn't going to tell nobody. I'm on TV at the time. And I'm like, I need some help. Like, my credit sucks. Like, do you have anybody that can help me? And he directed me to the right person. I ended up getting my credit score up. At the time, I think it was like a 480, true story. Got it up to about a 750 and was able to go buy a home. And that's how we foster a friendship. And then I will call him like, well, what should I invest in? What should I do with this money? Like, because the one thing I didn't understand was if you just save it, kind of like what we were talking about, it goes nowhere. It doesn't triple. It doesn't double. You end up maybe with a little bit more, but it's not enough that you can retire on. And who knows what retirement is going to look like at our age anyway, right? You can't depend on that. So when he was telling me things, that's kind of how we fostered our relationship. And I became more financially literate, because before that, even at the stage that I was in my career, there was no real concept of financial literacy till about 6 years ago. That's when and the craziest part is I had money saved in different places from working jobs and different accounts. And it was just sitting there. I had no concept of what to do at all.
You hit on a couple of things. And first, I will always make this point, particularly when we're talking about Black people and with Black women in particular. Your lack of knowledge about credit, or our, quote unquote, if you want to say collective lack of knowledge about these things, is not an accident. Like, I'm older than you guys, obviously, but I tell people my mother couldn't get credit at all as a woman, particularly as a Black woman, until like 1978. So at my age, I'm 64. I am the first generation of Black people who was born late enough to even know their credit score. It wasn't even legal to know your own credit score until your generation, basically. You got So I tell you, when people say, "Oh, you don't know your credit was bad," like, how would you know when this kind of access to our own financial knowledge is really new from a generational standpoint? But the other thing that gets into our conversation today, because you're hitting on an important theme that has come out with every conversation I've had with couples in this particular series, even though it came in different ways. They say the most important elements to be able to have family conversations, couples conversations, is trust and courage. You had to trust early to be able to say, yeah, I know I am like a television personality and everybody think I got it going on, blah, blah, blah. Because I had to get past that too. Oh, I work at Black Enterprise, I got it going on. But my credit's jacked up, but I don't know these things that people think I would know based on my education, based on my appearance, based on my job, based on my career. Trust had to be there in the beginning, before you guys knew you were going to end up being married and parents. You reached out to somebody that you trusted.
Right.
And you had to have the courage, if you will, to say, I'm gonna make myself, courage is the wrong word. I'm willing to make myself vulnerable when I don't want to be vulnerable. And in every conversation I have with every couple, no matter what financial background they came from, no matter their family history, it was like we are able to have these conversations. And I'm going to use the language of one of the wives I talked to. She said, he created a safe space for me to be able to just say what my fears were, what my goals were, what I didn't like about him, his approach to money. And so I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just the way you told that story about how you and Early became friends, you saw him as well. At least I can tell him, and he's not going to hurt me with it. He's not going to use it against me. He's not going to make me feel ashamed. He's just going to help me to solve this problem that I want to solve. I mean, can you weigh on that?
Well,
I'm not getting too much into it, you know.
He didn't see me as a person on TV anyway, so it didn't matter. Like, out of everybody in the world, he's probably the most not impressed by the job. I mean, respectfully, and I think that's a layered reason of why. First of all, he's with me every day, so he knows what really goes into the job. I think there's a respect level for what I have to go through in the job, but it's not he doesn't see that as a stardom, which I don't either. It's not.
Well, I've never been starstruck, regardless. Like,
not a stardom.
Like, it's funny because I never forget when we first got together. That was one of the topics. I would be like, dude, like, I don't like she. No, it was like one of those like. She has a lot of people that pump her ego on a regular basis.
What? That's not true.
She has a lot of people. I was trying to be nice, but anyway, she has a lot of people that pump her ego on a regular basis. Well, that wasn't never me. It was like, okay, whatever, like, whatever, okay, like, you know, like, it's Fox. Who cares about Fox? But anyway, I mean, that was just kind of like I mean, no shade. I mean, it could be CBS. But what I'm saying is, no.
It didn't matter
what she did. I didn't care about her being on TV. That wasn't even the thing. But what I will say is, I want to say something, piggyback off what you said, is that someone had to teach me. Because what she didn't know was that someone had to teach me. And a lot of people don't tell, you know, or want to even tell people about how to get your credit, right? Like, I'll never forget, like, what's funny is that I came from a serial entrepreneurial background, but my parents never had to talk about credit. My credit was horrible too. It was because I wanted a cell phone. It's funny, I just told the story yesterday. I wanted a cell phone so bad that I went and snuck to the local neighborhood phone shop, and
they bring your credit.
They didn't care. They was like, "You want a phone? Okay." I had to write down my information. Here, put your information. I never forget. I had to call my mom because I didn't even know my social security number. He's like, "I need your social security number." I'm like, "What's that?" I had to call my mom and was like, "Hey, mama, what's my social security number?" She's like, "Why?" I was like, I need it. So she gave it to me. I wrote it, and I never. It's approved. Boom. So now keep in mind, this is like, I ain't even had the money to pay for the phone bill, right? But I just wanted a cell phone. Everybody else had cell phones. I wanted a phone. My dad, like, nope, you ain't getting no phone. So I'm like, all right, I got some money. I was working at the time with him. So I took my money, all of the money I made, and I spent it on the phone. But I ain't even had the money to pay the phone bill. So, I mean, that's a true story. So I got the phone, and the phone bills was coming, you know, and I didn't even know that the phone bills was coming. So, like, eventually the phone got cut off. Next thing I know, bill come, they like, collection. I'm like, collection notice. So I'm like, I ain't paying y'all, forget it. So I didn't even think nothing about it. True story. Years later, fast forward to when I decided to start my business, I had walked off my job. This is me still not knowing the importance of credit. Didn't even know that Sprint, I'm, you know, shouting y'all out. Anyway, Sprint had hit my credit and messed my credit up, and I had nothing else on my credit. So when it came time for me to actually think, like, okay, how do I buy a truck? I'm thinking in my mind, trucks are cheap. I go to try to get a truck, they like, denied. I'm like, why? Your credit score ain't right. I'm like, well, what's on it? They're like $1,000 bill for Sprint, like $1,000. That's haunting me. You gotta remember, I'm 15, 16 years old. So 15, the decisions I made when I was 15, 16 years old haunted me. in my adult life of hindering me from actually being able to buy a truck. So I have to pivot, but
that's why my credit score was low. It was a decision that I made on college campus. Somebody was sitting there at a desk offering credit cards. My mother couldn't help me with no credit card payment. I didn't have the means to really pay a credit card payment. I wanted these boots from Macy's, bought them on that credit card. Why you looking?
At least mine was a cell phone. Mine was to talk to people.
On my campus, they got us. They were like, free 2-liter bottles of soda. Just sign up for this. We was like taking bottles of soda back to our dorm. Like, we got them. Oh my God. We could do a whole separate show on this whole thing about credit and how we got it. But let me circle it back a little bit.
Before
I forget, you guys, my audience, you gotta follow Early and Tia. Like they got their separate, but they are the fun. You see how fun they are. You gotta follow their account. You gotta follow Early and Tia on Instagram. That content creation par excellence, hilarious.
Thank you.
And now you see why. You see what they're working with. But let me say that you're exemplifying some of the elements that again are the running themes of your willingness to teach, your willingness to learn, your willingness to say, here's what I know, share what you know. Here's what I know, share what you know. And this is why the financial outcomes of families that at least have the conversation, it's not about always being in agreement. It's not about always having the same background. It's not even about somebody knowing it all, because you both came to the equation like, here's what I know, but here's what I don't know. But your capacity to even have the conversation, have the conversation, helps you guys to fill in those gaps, which I think is going to really bode well for your daughter. Daughter, right? She's a little girl.
Story. She's 2.
Story, yes. As she grows older, because unlike us, she's going to grow up in an environment where, hey, we talk about these things. These are known quantities, not a mystery. As she gets older.
And we do have other children. I don't want them to feel left out.
Yeah. So
please.
Yeah. So we are, and I have a high schooler. Pray for me.
Okay. You're in my prayers, bro.
Teenager.
You are in my prayers, bro.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, man. Listen, look. Her mom just put out, sorry. Well, it's true.
It wasn't completely.
Whatever. The point I'm trying to make is I got a teenager. Okay. It's like, go with your daddy. But anyway,
done that. Don't worry.
But no, I'm saying all that to say that, even with her, right? Like talking to her and like, so I didn't go to college, right? I tried it. It didn't work. And so like even with her, like instilling in them, like, look, because one of the things with me, okay, we gotta pause. We gotta pause. Well, I'll finish my story. So anyway, no, even with her, like, I didn't go to college, and then like even being with Tia, being from college, like she has that dynamic, right? And so I'm not the parent, because my especially my dad, it was kind of like go to college, go to school, like it was kind of like hounding that in me, like school is important. Don't get me wrong, I feel like school is important, but I feel like I did okay for myself. With what I had, right? And so in some instances, better performing than people who have actually went to college and went to degrees. So I don't make that a priority in their lives. Like I have made it to where I make sure that they have the best education. Like all my kids are in private schools. They all go to private school. They all get private education. But I don't hound on them to go to college, go to school. You got to go to the best university. And a lot of parents are like that. I'm not that person. Like I feel like, look at your dad. Your dad didn't go to school. He didn't go to college, and he turned out okay. I accomplished some things that heck some people probably would dream of, right? And so I'm saying all that to say that, I instill in them the financial literacy side of things. The stuff that I learned, I'm still learning to this day, right? I don't think by no means necessary that I know it all. Like, heck, I just 2-3 years ago, I just realized that it wasn't making sense for me to use my debit card for purchases. You know, I mean, so I'm still learning things, right? And so I'm saying all that to say, like, you know, even with the kids, like making sure that I'm instilling in them the values of the importance of money. Like my daughter told me she shows you interest in real estate. You know, I do, that's one of my other businesses as well. Like I do rehab, flipping, stuff like that. And I was like, hey, look, come on, let me show you the game, you know? And so my whole thing is that giving them alternatives, giving them other ways and showing them that there are way more other ways to make money. You know, if you don't choose to go to college, yes, I want you to go to college. I'm giving you the best education possible so that you can win. But I'm not that parent that's gonna be mad if you don't.
Right. Because I'm with you. I mean, I've all of my kids have gone to college, but none of them were like, "Oh, you have to go, and if you don't go, you're not successful." Because again, and they're all making their way in the world. They're doing fine. Again, my children are older than you are because yours are because I'm older than you are. But the larger lesson here is that they're getting the information and the options that are available to them in a way that either wasn't possible or just wasn't done. Our parents couldn't necessarily do that. And so, like you said, you know, you could do it this way, you could do it that way, you could do it this way. I'm going to show you everything that you could do.
Yep.
And then, you know,
you take your pick, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, and that's what I don't, because again, kind of going back to my past, my childhood, you know, like for the most part, my dad was kind of instilling in me, look, this is what I want you to do. This is who I want you to be. You know, and it's funny because if you ask him that today, he'll swear up and down that wasn't the case. What do you mean I didn't do that? I'm like, okay. But I mean, honestly, that's what I remember coming up. I remember it was like, here's who I want. I feel like as parents, sometimes we try and we want our kids to be potentially better than us and who we want it to be, right? You know, and I feel like that, in my opinion, I don't feel like that's smart. I think that, you know, every kid has a different, I mean, each one of my kids, I mean, heck, from story on up to my high school, they all have a different personality, you know, and I see different traits in all of them. I see, you know, like different characteristics in all of them, right? And so I just think allowing them to form who they are and allowing them to figure out who they want to be is important.
Yeah, again, as someone who's on the other side of that, you know, my kids are well into adulthood. They each have their own personality, each choose their own path. My job, my goal with their mothers was to equip them with the information that I didn't have. And of course, my kids are raised in the Black enterprise world. They could tell you more about investing and credit than you know, certainly more than I could at their age. But it was like, here's what's available to you. Here's what I didn't know. Here's certainly what your grandparents and their grandparents couldn't know. But now that we do know, we need to have these conversations. So listen, let me before Story grabs the mic again. Let's talk about if you had to give families, couples, maybe 2 or 3 pieces of advice to at least start the conversation, to share what they know, because again, there are people who come from families where the taboo is you just don't talk about that, ain't none of your business. Or you have come from some people, what we encounter a lot at Black Enterprise, the other side, people who are successful and otherwise educated, but don't know how to admit what they don't know. What would be your piece of advice, 2 or 3 pieces of advice you would give?
Well, I would say number one, don't be afraid to not admit you don't know what you don't know. I think that, like I just said, I still, at the age, I just turned 40. At the age of 40, I still am willing to admit I do not know it all. I have a close friend that I speak to on a daily basis and he's a multimillionaire that instills stuff in me that I'm like, I'd be in shock. Like, wow. Like,
and he's younger.
Oh, yeah.
Different nationality though.
Yeah, right.
So that shows you the difference too in his upbringing. Like, you know, and he's been at this, he's probably been a millionaire for the last 10 years, you know, plus. So I'm saying all that to say different cultures, different nationalities, they teach their kids different things as they're growing up. And we don't.
So that would be my number 2, having somebody in your corner who knows more than you. Like, because a lot of people, they stay around the same people all the time that know the same amount of information. How are you going to expand? How are you going to know more? So that would be my number 2.
And what's the definition of that? Insanity. If you keep doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get a different result, well, that's insanity, right? And so changing your circle, basically. You know, at the end of the day, you have to change your circle. And I've done that. Like, you know, at the end of the day, I've cut off a lot of people. You know, in these 40 years of life, I cut off a lot of people. I mean, starting with my childhood friends. I don't talk or hang with none of them. Like, you got some people that just, we ride or die forever, this, that. It's like, ain't none of them doing nothing.
Right. No, seriously, I have a thing that I tell a lot of my mentees. I said that the way many people miss their own.
If you wasn't not doing that, that's why I don't talk to you.
No. Well, the many way people miss their destiny is they can't accept that many of the people that they love or that love them can't go with them where they're going.
There you go.
And it's okay. It's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah. But, and it's like, it doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make you bad. It's that you're going someplace. But the other thing, that you guys make me think, I always tell people, if I'm in the room and I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room.
That's my favorite phrase. I love that phrase. I always say that. I love that. That is my favorite phrase. I say, if I am the smartest person in the room, I am the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah, because you got to get around. You can't learn. You can't teach what you haven't learned, and you can't learn if you're only around people that know what you know.
And some people love that. Like, some people love to be
the star
and be the star. Put me around the millionaires. Like, part of the reason why I took this deal was not because of the financial benefits, but it was because it's putting me in rooms with people that I would have never had the chance to be in a room. It's allowing me to be around people. It's allowing me to have conversations that I never thought I would have. It's allowing me to say, wait, so what are you doing with your money? What is that? Hold on, wait. Go ahead.
He said 3 things. We hit to number 2. My third will probably be, based on what you just said, never be afraid to pivot. Never be afraid to change wherever you are financially. Like, we live in a very big house, okay? This is the truth. And we decided that...
Don't be people pleasers.
Don't be people pleasers?
But
we didn't buy this house based on people.
Well, we bought this house off of stupidity.
We've only lived here a short time.
We bought this house. I'm a true story. It's
Go
funny.
ahead. Because that's my number 3.
And she's going to be mad because she said I'll be blaming her. But that's a true story. I want to tell this story for a reason.
This is a lie.
I want to tell this story for a reason. So, true story. Okay, this is what happens when you get women, and they don't know financial and all of that, so they don't really care about none of that. So, true story.
So
I had a house that I was going to buy. This was before me.
It was
before me and her. This was.
We were just starting to date.
We were in our beginning of our relationship. This is how women derail you, right? So we were in the beginning of our relationship, and I was at the time of purchasing a house.
Closing.
I was actually had a week from closing. I said, man, you want to come look at my new house stuff for the purchase? Yeah. Take over. 2,500 square feet, nice community. I'll say the community because we don't stay there. Beecher, Illinois. And so I come and show her the house, and this is true story. She could
There was a horrible storm.
Let me finish my story. Hold on.
There was some leaks.
Hold on. Let me finish my story. This was her true story. She like, I said, what you think? I'm like, it's a nice day. She like,
I was like, oh.
She said, you like this? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, man, look. I'm like, man, my mortgage gonna be cheap. I mean, hey, the house only $400,000. I'm like, man, I'm finna be winning. She like, oh, okay. I mean, I think you could do better. And I'm like, huh? She's like, I think you could do better. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, what's wrong with this? It's a house, right? It's nice. So, true story. I ended up canceling my deal, canceling my contract. See, and don't nobody know this story, Black Enterprise. So y'all getting it exclusive. I ended up canceling my deal and told the bank, like, I'm gonna look for something else.
But in fairness, it has some damage, and that's why he was able to cancel. That is what happened.
Well, I was able to get out of it.
Yeah.
Well, it was simple stuff. It was simple stuff that you know how it is. Like they didn't want to fix, so they was able to cancel. But anyway, nonetheless, let's get to the better part of the story. So, we get to look at other stuff. She's like, you should stay in Frankfurt. You should stay in Orland. She was like, that's what you need to be.
Some other better places.
Okay, okay. A point I'm trying to make is, I went from a $300,000 house, $400,000 house to a $700,000 house, right? So I done doubled. I'm sitting here now And this is a true story too, because it's like, although you can afford it, doesn't mean you necessarily need to buy
That's the story.
But anyway,
not the blank.
Let me finish. So we buy this. We buy true story. We finna move, so y'all can look it up because it don't matter because we out of here. But I go from a $300,000 house. Let's go 2,500 square foot house, and now this woman had talked me into almost 7,000 square foot house.
That we'll never spend no time.
She tell me, "Oh my God, this is my dream."
By this time we engaged though, and married. Actually,
this is my dream house.
I remember saying that.
So she did.
He liked it too.
She did. The house was okay. I was fine with my beach house. Okay, so she like, man, we should get this. She was like, man, I'll go half or whatever the mortgage is with you. This now, I'll help you out with the down payment. Like, this is what we should get. This would be great.
And I've lived up to that piece of the pie most of the time.
I'm glad you said most. Yeah, she get the most in it. The months when she, I ain't paying money anyway. But look, fellas, don't fall for it. But look, all I'll say is that
just because you can afford it,
it goes back to the whole thing of when you're young and you're looking at the glamorizations of life, and you're looking at these rappers and these NBA stars, and you're looking at people on social media. Here's the true story. She just hit it on the head. We spend the most time in this whole house in one room. Our bedroom.
Yeah.
For the most part, we gone. We working all day. Whatever the case is, when we get here, we don't even have time to enjoy the house. So I say all that to say we selling this house, and if we hadn't had a seller, I would actually tell y'all. But we already got a seller, so thank God. And it's funny because a buyer. I'm sorry, right? And it's funny because true story. As me thinking she learned her lesson, we almost got zero right back. Wait, what are you doing?
It was way up a bigger price than this one.
She even went for the hold on, pause, and foul on the plate. We're not doing that this time.
Don't lie.
And I had the zero.
We have to reel ourselves.
And I had the zero. I said, no, I had the zero. It was so tough. And I was like, what are you doing? We just said we selling this.
It was like going to a resort.
And it's not necessarily even a downgrade, right? Because we're getting a nice house, right? But here's the difference. The difference is that I'm walking in with equity. I'm purchasing the house at a lower price. We're going to go in. We're going to fix up things in the house to where when we walk into this house, we controlling what we want in the house. We got equity in the house. And so now if we ever decide we need to put money out, we got an emergency, if we need to sell the house, guess what? It's an investment.
Yes.
And that's the difference. You can still get something nice, but it is at a fraction of the cost, and it's an investment now.
Right.
And that's the difference, right? And it's all about mind frames.
So listen, I'm gonna draw a bow around this because you guys hit on and are exemplifying the third thing that at least a couple of couples said was important to be able to have these conversations. So I talked about the willingness to be vulnerable, the courage to be vulnerable. Talked about the safe space that both people can say, well, I can say what I got to say and you're not going to use it against me. The third thing is you guys are bringing humor to it. We can laugh at each other, we can laugh at ourselves, and that even especially again the example of the person I'm thinking of, I wish I could call her name out. She was like, because there are times when no matter, even if you agree and you plan and you're totally, it'll go left. Like even if you agree, it'll go left.
Yeah.
And she said, there's a difference between those that turn to each other when it goes left and those that turn on each other when it goes left. And, but the fact that, we can laugh about it. We had humor. Yep. That's not how the story went. That's you lying there. Is a part of the element that we're seeing among, again, not just couples, but families that get together, they tell the story and everybody's laughing. That's not what happened. But what they did, they used humor and grace to navigate when, listen, nobody has all the financial answers. Everybody be rich if everybody had the answers. So when we see the successful conversations of families talking about money, part of it is nothing. We have fun with each other, and this is just another area of learning, and fun. And you guys are not just talking about it; you're living it. It's just right in front of our eyes. I don't know what to do, y'all.
There's boxes all around here.
Coming to content near you very soon. But no, I mean, honestly, too, I think these are the conversations families need to have because growing up, I wasn't included in any of those conversations, right? I didn't know why my dad bought this, how much he paid for this. I mean, true story, like, without telling too much business, it's like, my dad is still paying a mortgage. I don't want to be in that position. And that's the thing, is that you literally have it when you're 70, 80 years, and you've seen this. It's like you'll have people that will literally sit here and pass and now lose everything because the family ain't equipped to even receive it. And now here it is, they got all these debts and bills. So now here it is, you've been paying on a house the whole entire life that you don't own. And nobody in the house can keep it. So it was a waste of money. It was a
waste of time, waste of money.
And that's what I didn't want. I wanted to be the way it's like, listen, look, something happened to me. The house will be paid for with life insurance, right? It's the life insurance, if not already paid for. And that's the thing. Those are the conversations that families don't have.
No, they have GoFundMes, and that's serious.
GoFundMes, the house gets lost, and now I'm coming along to buy the house and buy the taxes on it. And now I just sat here, the bank only want $50,000 because that's all that was left on the mortgage. So now I just got your house that you paid $250,000 your whole entire life for. Well, I just got that same house for $50,000.
Wow.
So what did we just really accomplish? And that's how the cycle continues.
I'm going to have to have y'all back. Y'all the gift that keeps
okay.
on giving. Wow. Listen, we are really out of time. But listen, what's the best way? I know I gave follow Early and Tia.
Early and Tia on platforms.
I'm going to say that one for you.
Instagram, Facebook, Early and Tia.
Yeah. And not only will you learn.
You won't get none of this. You only get this if you come to Black Enterprise. But we'll make you laugh when I pay. No, I'll take that back. Actually, we are finna. So true story. Follow us because we do have some content. We're gonna start doing some real estate properties flips together. Tia loves like interior design and decoration. A lot of people don't know that she's very good at it, and so I love flipping. I love real estate. I love finding deals that are very low and using the burst strategy. If y'all don't know what that is, well, follow our page and you'll know. Don't look it up. Follow our page and you'll learn. And that's another technical asset that people can use, to build wealth in their family as well. But I'm saying all that to say we're going to start actually letting you guys in on some of that stuff, from an investment standpoint. So definitely follow our page.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to have you guys back. So, So, because you're fun, you're funny, and you learn a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Early. Thank you, Tia, for joining me on this latest edition of Your Money, Your Life. Thank you. Okay, guys. Even I got more than I bargained for today. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior VP Executive Editor at Black Enterprise. This episode of Your Money, Your Life is brought to you by Prudential, and we will see you next time. You are going to share this one. Take care, be well, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.